And so we're going to walk through this process inside of GetResponse, and GetResponse is going to be pretty similar to any of your other autoresponders, Aweber, MailChimp. For the most part, it's going to work the same, right? And so once you understand this, you'll be able to do it in whatever your autoresponder is. And even if you have another squeeze page other than the one we're going to be working with, you'll be able to do this. So let's go ahead. Okay, so we're going to be working with your squeeze page tonight, your squeeze page. And as I said, this is not a straightforward process. So this isn't something that you're going to be able to carry from line by line directly into another system. So some of this is going to be peculiar to whatever it is that you have. So if you have Aweber, this is going to look slightly different. If you have Constant Contact, if you have one of the other ones, it's going to look slightly different. But the good thing about this is that once you've seen this process, you'll know what to look for in your individual autoresponder. And obviously, if you have GetResponse, you'll be able to do this right off the bat. Okay, now, the very first thing that I'm going to suggest you do is to upload your pages unedited into your server. Right, now I'm going to do that inside of FileZilla. So if you have FileZilla, I have FileZilla Pro, and you may have something different. That's okay. So if you don't have FileZilla and you have another system that you're using, that's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my server. I'm going to do that off camera, and just going to jump in here to my server. I'm going to bring this back in front of you here. And then I'm going to go and look for the published HTML folder. And then I'm going to hopefully have already created some kind of subdirectory. So in this case, I'm going to create this. It's going to be 60 minutes, right? I'm just going to create a subdirectory, right? And so there's my subdirectory. There are no files in there right now. So one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to then put pages unedited into this directory. And so one of the ways that I can do that, of course, is I can go and use FileZilla, and I can just double click all of the files, or I can drag and drop them. And so in this case, I like to see my files being done. So I'm going to drag and drop them here. So let's go to the actual folder. Right? So I'm going to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to open up the lead page folder. There's the folder for the squeeze page, and then here are all the files. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those files, and I'm going to drag and drop them into the directory that I'm going to have for my squeeze page. And I'll drag and drop them over here. Hopefully you all understand that. I mean, you probably already have some kind of FTP program. This is probably pretty much elementary to you. But now I want to put those in there unedited because I want to always be looking at what this is going to look like on my actual server. I can look at my files inside of my web browser. It isn't always going to be reliable in terms of how your pages are going to look. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the squeeze page. And I'm going to open this up inside of my HTML editor. In this case, I'm using Dreamweaver. So I'm going to open this up inside of Dreamweaver. You can use whatever you're going to use, right? So if you're using a different one. Okay, so here is my squeeze page. Okay, and so basically I'm going to always use the split window, which is going to show me the actual HTML at the top, and then it's going to show me the code at the bottom. What I can do is I can take this directory, I can copy the URL, I can then go to, and I like to, when I'm testing this, I like to go to an incognito browser, right? So I'm going to do is I'm going to put this URL in here. Remember, I'm going to take out the public HTML when I'm testing, and then I'm going to take out this FTP. That's going to, because that will not give me a correct URL. And then I'm going to hit enter, and then here is my squeeze page, right? So basically, if I put my name and email address in here, I can put this in here, but this is not going to go anyplace because we don't have anything connected to it, right? So it's going to function right. The button's going to act right, but it's not going to do anything, and that email address isn't going to go anywhere, right? All I've done is I put the files on my server, and now they're on the web. I've uploaded my unedited pages to my server. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my autoresponder now, and I'm going to create a form inside of my prospect list, right? So I'm going to go and open this up. I'm going to go inside of my autoresponder. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go to a specific form, right? Wherever I want to create the list, that's where I'm going to go to the form. So I'm going to open up one list here. And it's going to take me a minute to open this up. And you're going to have to do the same thing in your autoresponder. You're going to have to work inside of a specific list. Hopefully what you're going to be working with is you're going to be working with your prospect list, right? So I'm going to go here and I'm going to work with a prospect list. I'm going to make that the current campaign. And I think I called that prospect list. Okay, so now I have my prospect list. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a form inside of that prospect list, and then GetResponse, you've got a menu for forms. So I can then go and create a form. Now in GetResponse, they have a list builder wizard, but there's going to be something specific we're going to be looking for. And you're going to look for this something specific inside of yours, even if you don't have a wizard. You're going to notice a lot of patterns here, and we don't want that pattern on top of our squeeze page, right? What we want is we want a blank form. So that's what I'm going to click here. I'm going to click the blank form. So all I want to do is I want to get choices in the blank form section. You're going to notice I have all blank forms, and that's where I want to start with. Now I'm going to take the most simple one here. And this is going to be the one I want to work with. This is going to be the template that I am going to work with. I'm going to click Use Template. And then that template's going to load up for me to work inside of GetResponse. Now again, you're going to have something similar inside of your autoresponder, and you'll be able to work with it in that way. Okay, so now we have this form. Now obviously, we want to be able to put this form inside of the HTML so that it appears right here, right? So we want to get as close to this as we can, right? Unless you really do want to change it. Now, obviously, you're going to have some latitude here. So what I'm going to do inside of GetResponse first is I'm going to then take out this text. And in GetResponse, all I have to do is click that text. I can click this trash button, and then that's no longer there. Right, so now that area is going to actually be gone. What I'm going to do also is I'm going to click inside of the background. Right, so I've got the background and I've clicked it. I want to then look at the layout. I also want to look at the style. Right, so with the style, you'll notice that the background here is white. And what I want to do is I want to change this background to transparent. Right, so I'm going to click OK. Now, does everybody see how that form now is going to be transparent, and that it's not going to reflect any color, and it's going to reflect the color of the background of my existing squeeze page? Does everybody understand that? Now, if you look at this, if we were to look at this form, right, you'll notice here that this form has enter your name, enter your email address. Now, we don't have to have it that way. You'll notice here that these fields are reversed. Now, we can change them and switch them if we want to, or we can just leave them, right? We can leave them that way. So in this case, I'm going to leave them that way because I'm going to actually change the HTML. So I'm not going to reverse these things. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to reduce the size, right? And then I'm actually going to click inside of this email address area. And I'm going to look at that box here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out that label, right? And I'm actually going to take out this label. And then I'm going to write in here your best email address. I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to take out this label that says first name. I'm going to take out this text that says help test goes here. And then I'm going to write in here your name. Okay, now what I can do here is I can actually slide these a little closer to each other. And that's what I'm going to do. Right, and then I'm going to scrunch this. I can take this submit button, I can move it up some. I can scrunch this some more. All right, so now I have a pretty basic squeeze page form. Right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to stretch this a little bit. And then I'm going to stretch these a little bit. I'm going to stretch this one out. I'm going to take this submit button. I'm going to move it to the middle. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I like to just kind of check and see how my form is looking so far. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save and publish this form. And what you're going to notice is that I have some JavaScript code here. And I want to actually use the JavaScript code because what this is going to do, this is going to allow me to make changes and to check them on my form in real time. If I choose to use a pure HTML code, I would have to go back and change that form every time I make an edit. So I'm going to copy this JavaScript code. I'm going to copy that to my clipboard. And then I'm going to go inside of the code here. Right, I'm going to now go to this form because I want to replace this form. Right, so I'm going to look for this form. And the entire form is here inside of the code. Let's lift this up some so you can see it. Let's copy all of this. And then let's hit Control V. All right. So if I click inside of here now for my form, I'm going to then see it's going to look invisible because it's JavaScript. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this now. I'm going to save this now as an index file, but I'm not going to copy over the index file. What I'm going to do is I'm going to call this toIndex, right? Because I don't want to copy over that index form yet. So I'm going to call that toIndex. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this form, and I can then double click this form to see how it's going to look in the browser. Right? So let's double click this. Okay, so that's probably not quite what we want, right? We probably need this to be a little wider, and we may or may not want that green submit button. So we want this to be a little bigger. We may want this form to be a little wider. So we've got JavaScript. So what we can do now is we can go back inside of our form, and we can go back to the form creator. That's going to open up that same form we were working with. What we probably want to do here is we probably are going to want to just widen out. We want to widen this out some. Let's widen this one out to the same width. Let's pull these on top. Let's bring these kind of close to each other. Let's narrow down our box here. And then let's save it. Okay, so we've got our code here. We've saved the form. Now what we can do is we can go back and we can look at the same form, right? So now all we need to do is we need to then refresh this page and we'll be able to see our form that we changed. Okay, so now this is probably off center a little bit, right? So I don't necessarily like that, the way that looks. So let's go back here and let's bring this in a little bit here. Let's bring this one in. Let's take this out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to save this. I'm going to come back to my JavaScript. Okay, I think that's close enough, right? So now let's say that I don't like this button. Right? I want to change this button. I actually want it to be closer to the one that we had before. So what I can do inside of here in GetResponse is I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go back to the form creator. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on top of this submit button. And then whenever I click on top of something, I'm working with it here. I'm going to now go to the style, right? And so what I'm going to do is I think what I really like to do here is the first thing I really want to do is I want to take this text. I want to make the text transparent, right? I'm going to click OK. So now the text is no longer there. And what I'm going to do is I want to then look at the button. Now I want to make the button, I want to make the hover color transparent. I want to make the color transparent. I want to make the gradient transparent. And what I want to do is I want to take this image and I want to choose one of the images inside of the package. So I'm going to go and grab an image. That is our button. Now I've already uploaded the button here, but if you would just go to your computer, you click upload from computer, you would find the button here, right? We would just upload that button. Now I've already uploaded it here. So it's already here inside of GetResponse. So I'm going to put this in the center. I'm going to scale this up. Make sure it fits the screen. I'm going to size this up here. And what I really want to do here is I want to take that shadow out. So I'm going to now make that transparent. I'm going to slide this button over. And I'm now going to save it and publish it. And so now all I have to do, because I'm using JavaScript, is I can refresh this. And there's my button. Okay, so we've got our button in there now. And so now what we're going to do here is we should probably rename this page, right? This page says thank you page. So I'm going to go inside of the text here, and I'm going to call this whatever I want to call it, right? I'm going to change the title to 60 minutes copy. I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to go back. I'm going to refresh, and now my page title is what I want it to be. Right now, basically what we've done here is we placed our form in here, and now when the individual puts their name and email address in, it's going to go inside of the form for the list I created inside of GetResponse. Right, so now let's go back to the form creator. And what we're going to do when we get back to the form creator now is we're going to work with this a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the thank you page. Now this is where GetResponse is going to send the person once they've opted in or once they've gone into our list. Right? So we want to be able to work with this now. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the settings. I'm going to call this web form to the sales page. It's going to be for my campaign, my prospect list. I'm going to have confirmed opt-in, and I'm going to add them to my day 0 list. Now, here's the important thing here. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to choose the thank you page. I'm going to choose a custom thank you page. And what I'm going to place here is I'm now going to place in here my sales page. Right? Because what we want to happen is when the individual opts into our list, we want them sent to the sales page, and then we want them to get the autoresponder messages. Now, there's something important here that you want to do if you're going to do this. You want to make sure that the individual either gets their product with the sales page, or you can also make sure by placing the link inside of the first email in your automated series. Let me say that again. What you're going to do for the thank you page is you're going to place in here the sales page, but you also want to make sure that the person gets what they opted in for. And so what you can do is to either place it there on the sales page at the top, or if you don't do that, you need to make sure that they get the content in the first email that they receive from you in your automated series. Right? So what I'm going to put here is I'm going to find my sales page. Whatever our sales page is, we're going to place that sales page inside of here, and that's going to take them there as soon as they opt in. Right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm now going to then click the Save button. And what I can do is I can actually then, I don't have to worry about this sales page. The thank you page is going to be the one that they're going to be sent to. So now what I can do is I can take my files and I can upload them to my server. So what I'm going to do here is I'm now going to go to the original index file. I'm going to rename that original index file to another number. I'm now going to change the one that I edited back to just plain index. And now what I can do is I can take these files and I can upload them to my server. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop them over here, or drag and drop them inside of this folder. And it's going to ask me if I want to overwrite. I'm going to say, yeah. Overwrite one more, I say yes. Overwrite one more, I say yes. Overwrite one more, I say yes. Okay? And basically, I'm going to then say, always use this action or apply this to the current queue. And so all my files are now copied. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my URL. And I'm going to refresh it. And there is my button. And then my individual will then go to my list when they opt in. Okay, so we've added the code from our form to our squeeze page. We have made adjustments to our squeeze page form. We've added the sales page address as our thank you page. We've added our thank you page address to our first autoresponder message. Okay, now there is an easier way to do this. And what we can do, let's say that is just, everything I just did is just way too complicated, right? Let's say that was, you just kind of feel like, okay, you know what, that's a little too much for me. What we can do, and let's just say what you want to do is we're gonna go backwards here. We're not gonna save this. Okay, let's open up this index file. Okay, now I'm gonna go to the split design. And let's say that what I want to do is I just want to make this simple. Right? So I have this button. Right? So what I want something to happen when people click this button. What I can do is I can go back to get response. I can go to the forms creator. I can create a form. I can click the list builder wizard, and I can then just go and create a blank form. All right, I'm going to choose this template again. And this time, I'm not going to make any changes to the template, right? Because all I'm going to do is create a button, right? All I want to do is to create a link. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this headline. I'm going to shrink this down. I'm going to take out the email address. In fact, I don't even really have to take that out again, right? In this case, I think what I'll do is I'll just take out this line that says help text goes here. I'll take it out here. I'm going to move these closer together. I'm going to move this submit button up. I'm going to scrunch this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click save and publish. I'm going to then get this link that says get response will host my form. I'm going to copy that link. Then I'm going to go back to my Dreamweaver. I'm going to connect that link to this button. All right, let's do it this way. We're going to go and we are going to get the properties of this button. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my link in there. And then I'm going to close that link. Okay, I think that's correct now. Now I can save it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go and look at that file. Okay. What's going to happen now is when the individual clicks this button, instead of going through the whole thing, when they click that button, it's now going to go to this form. Right? Now that's a simpler way to do it. So if you just want to place the button on top of your form, you can do it that way. Right now, the better way to do it is the first way that I showed you. But if that's just going to be too much and it's going to be a little overwhelming, then all you've got to do is to go and get this form, this button that says get response will host my form. You want to then place that button on top of your form by associating this hyperlink with the button. When they click the button, they get taken to the form that's already online. Okay, well, if that's it for tonight, everybody, we will work with the sales page tomorrow. And then I think I called it testing your system. What we're going to do is I rather title that session not testing, but building your system, right? And that's probably going to be, other than the orientation, is probably going to be the most important session, because we're going to then talk about mapping, right? And probably the best title would be mapping your system, because we want to map out where the pages go. And you need to have a map in your head before you start this process. And I didn't want to start with that, but I think it's a great place to end the course. Right, so if there are no questions, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Look forward to seeing you again. Have a great night, pleasant tomorrow. Take care.